So my name is Will Moroney. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer here at Temenos. Started my career in core banking back in 1997, and I'm still here in 2025. So the Chief Revenue Officer organization in Temenos has been undergoing quite a change in the past 12 to 18 months. In the beginning, it was more around sales and revenue and the sales people facing off with our customers. But we've expanded the remit of the department to look at every single Temenos person who's facing a customer effectively. So what that's done is it's increased the scope of the organization to look at the full customer lifecycle, beginning to end and renewal. Sales, technical sales, field marketing, the customer success, and even local support, people that work here at Temenos, and also including all of our own Temenos expert services, delivery capability, and the teams that look after our partners from a go-to-market and from a partner delivery point of view. So from a business perspective, it's effectively everything, excluding what goes on in product and technology. There's probably a few things that come out as resonating, the common topics, let's say, okay? And some of these are relatively new and some of them have been around for a while. So our banking leaders, if I focus on those, and I do speak to a lot of banking leaders, now that's predominantly our customers, but of course we work with all of the major partners globally as well. They see where we're at as a perfect storm of challenges and actually opportunities. And of course, that is pushing a number of things to the top of their agenda. So we have to start by talking about the major hype item, which is AI. But instead of let's talking about the AI and AI use cases at this juncture, let's talk about AI readiness, because there is definitely an appetite for understanding what AI brings to banking technology and how it can change customer interactions. But there's a growing now understanding it's not just about using artificial intelligence in the customer layer. That may only be about 10 or 15% of what the capability brings. Being able to migrate off legacy solutions, being able to upgrade banking technology, being able to do some of the repetitive jobs like the fixing of errors in payment messages or looking at false positives in financial crime. These are all now use cases internally within the bank that leaders are looking at AI to make big changes in. So firstly is AI readiness in the bank, because what happens once they've realized what AI can do or what it may be able to do in the future is they start to understand that they're probably not ready. And because there's understanding what infrastructure you've got in the bank, what data layers you've got, where your data is sitting, but then there's all of the regulatory and legal considerations that sit around that. So AI readiness is probably a big one we're seeing. Next is and that's a new one, of course. Next is the old chestnut. It's been there since 1997 when I started in this game, and that's modernization. And modernization under pressure. So banking organizations are actually under more pressure than ever before to modernize. When I joined the game in 97, it was all about modernizing for Y2K. Then there was a bit of a break, if you remember, up until global financial crisis. After that, budget started to get released, and what really drove modernization was digitization of the front end, because you then needed systems that operated and were open 24/7. Then came the big data push for modernization. But that was only ever about analytics and reporting. Now, AI is actually what's pushing the requirement to modernize, because if all the data is sitting in legacy and stovepipe solutions, then it's very hard to put an AI layer on top of it. So modernization under pressure, because they're under pressure to show that they're able to work with AI, continue the digitization journey for their customers. This is the second one. And then the next one is impact, immediate impact. And this is, I think, a developing trend So again, in 97, bank would go, okay, we're going to go on a modernization journey. It'll probably take us 3 to 5 years. We'll bring in the consultants, we'll bring in the core banking vendors. It's a huge program. There's a waning interest in that sort of modernization. There's more of an interest on how can I have an immediate impact in a business line, or how can I have an immediate impact in one of my areas of business horizontally in the next 6 months. So can we look at an MVP one that has immediate impact to either what we do in the bank or what we do with our customers? And then progressively, how do we have these iterative impacts every 6 months, as opposed to a big, long 5-year program that's going to take forever? So AI readiness is top of mind, modernization under pressure, and then immediate impact as we modernize. These are the 3 big topics that keep recurring with our banking leaders. We're seeing definitely shifts in the way banks approach it. Now, of course, nuance this by it depends on the size of the bank. We tier our banks from tiers 1 to tier 5 based on their asset size. And it's a pretty rudimentary way of tiering banks. It's not perfect because, of course, whether you're a multi-business bank, multi-geo bank, or sometimes a tier 3 bank could be systemic to a smaller country, for example, there are some nuances around that. We've always found that the full core modernization is not relevant to tier 1 and perhaps tier 2, and it was more relevant to 3, 4, and 5. We're finding that the progressive modernization, taking more modular or composable approach to modernizing the banking technology stack, is going down the tiers. So this is becoming more relevant down in tier 3 and maybe even in tier 4. And this comes back to the point around immediate impact. There's that fear that a longer term program, if it doesn't show business benefit quite quickly in the bank, will be difficult to bring stakeholders to the program along on the journey. So that's a major shift that we're seeing, is not perhaps the full core replacement, but replacing business lines or replacing certain things that happen horizontally at the bank. We've also seen quite a lot of interest with us around surround and extend. So retaining their core for longer, but investing in point solutions. So again, looking at making a decision that we're not going to touch the core of our bank, but we're very interested in aggressively going after SME lending, for example. And our legacy solution is holding us back in being dynamic and bringing those products to market. So what we're going to do is we're going to put SME lending into a modern core like Temenos Transact, and we'll have that operating alongside our legacy core. So we're seeing a lot more discussions in that vein as well. What's consistent across all the conversations is that our banking leaders, our business leaders, and our tech leaders are really focusing a lot more on how they build an ecosystem of trusted partners around the bank. So instead of looking at just one big partner that's going to do everything for them, how do they build that ecosystem? And so they're looking for proven technology. They're looking for deep domain expertise in the domain that they're looking to modernize, and with a strong track record of migrations, because obviously these are the scary risk part of any project, but also 2 go lives and running banks that are happy with the technology platforms. So this shift has been happening, I think, Ali, for the last 18 to 24 months, but we're continuing to see the shift in the way that banks want to modernize. Yeah, so I think the very first thing, and we started on a journey about 14 months ago now, re-looking at our entire organization. But the way we started this was we started by putting the customer at the center of everything we do. So we underwent a very large exercise about 14 months ago at mapping out firstly our customer lifecycle. So from a high level, what does the customer lifecycle look like within Temenos, from that very first touch point when they become aware of our brand, right through to when their contract is expiring and we're looking to renew the relationship. And then breaking that down into a whole lot of sub-customer journeys, how they experience us from a marketing, from a sales, from a delivery, from a go live, from a customer success, and then from a renewal point of view. And we started to reshape our organization around that. So when we did that initial exercise, that's when we decided that the only way we could elevate the customer experience was to bring all of the customer related, all of the customer facing people into one organization. So that's why we now have this CRO organization that sits all of those individuals. We focused on a number of really important things. So number one is execution at scale. And of course, these are things that tie into our strengths. So we're confident that we can go into any of our prospects or our banks and show them that we're the right partner to execute at scale. In H1 alone in 2025, we supported 150 banks going live on our platforms globally. And this was a host of new implementations and also a large number of upgrades onto our newest, most modern platforms. And so that when a bank is looking to do something is really important, that you can execute at scale. We've also focused very much on retaining our market leadership. So again, in 2025, we were very, very proud to be announced as the number one for core banking in the IBS league table, and also number one for another 12 of their categories, including payments, Islamic banking, etc. So we've been able to maintain that market leadership position only by bringing in new logo clients. Now we're incredibly proud of that, and so we continue to work in our sales and in our technical sales arena to ensure that we maintain those market leadership positions. And then finally, for us, it's about speed and excellence. So we get feedback that our quality of product and functionality of product is above anybody else in the market. So when you've got the back boxed away, the most important thing then is how you execute on a project. We've changed the way we execute 18 months away, which was more partner-led, to being partner and Temenos hybrid, because working back on the thought of building an ecosystem for our banks, building an ecosystem of partners that they can trust, that have deep-rooted knowledge. We create now project teams that are most relevant for the banking projects, because banking projects are complex. You have the banking technology vendor, but then you've also got the platform that the technology is going to go on. You've got integration touch points, testing, migrations, etc. So the hybrid Temenos partner approach is really gaining real traction with especially our existing customers and also a lot of our new customers, in enabling us to build up speed and excellence in delivery. And so some of the exciting things we're doing in there is we are actually now starting to use AI to accelerate how we deliver, because a lot of the parts of a delivery program, like understanding the legacy code if we're replacing a legacy solution, or developing technology and then testing and handing back once a test has been done, we can automate quite a lot of this using AI. So this is I know it's a long-winded answer, but this is the last 14 to 18 months of work, and it really is now starting to show some amazing results. We're super proud of the 150 customers that went live in H1, and we've been using some of the new approaches and some of the new technologies on those programs as well.